In this video, you're going to be hearing from my girlfriend and my best friend. About a month ago, I made a video titled, My First Day Free After 10 Years in Prison, and you guys seemed to like it, and you wanted to hear more. What was my first week, month, year like? I decided it was better to just go ahead and cover the whole year, because a week, a month, it's still kind of pretty close to how it was the first day. So in better words than I can tell you myself, here is my girlfriend and my best friend telling you how I was in their eyes when I first came home from prison. At the end of the video, I'll show you what they think of me now in comparison to then and what's changed, if anything.
So when Paul first got out of prison, he definitely was different than how he is now on just day-to-day basis, just little things. He used to talk very, very quietly, which I guess comes from, you know, just being in prison. You don't want everybody around you to hear exactly like what you're saying to whoever you're talking to, so I get it, but there were so many times that I would just have to be like, what are you saying? And I would feel bad sometimes. And then another thing is I feel like he used to just be a lot more on edge all the time and would just be more easily angered, not in a bad way, but it was just that line to like be set off was just, you know, it took less. When we would be out, I could just kind of tell that he would always be out like looking and just very observant of his surroundings. It would be like easier for somebody, like just for him to take something and feel like this isn't right, you know?
So when he first got out, he was definitely difficult to bring in public. When I first saw him, he looked like an actual dead guy, like a guy that had like no soul, like the coldest person you've ever met in your whole life. It was a pretty difficult change, and the mindset was just to basically keep him as far away from trouble, keep him out of trouble as long as I could. Super short fused, super just ready to go all the time. Didn't matter who it was with or how many it was with.
It really doesn't get any more honest and truthful than hearing it from people who love you and care about you and they're your friend, but clearly at that time you're still a difficult person to kind of be a friend to bring out in public and just kind of go out into the world with this person. It was a struggle for them as my friends and as my future girlfriend. The talking very quietly thing. A lot of you watching and who are familiar with my videos are like, well, he's still not exactly the loudest person. He's got a very soft-spoken voice anyways. And that's true. But as low as it is now and as soft as it is now, it was just so quiet because, you know, Ariel's right. I've explained that to her. You know, it was just kind of a thing where I'm so used to being in prison where everyone wants to listen to what you're talking about. You know, they don't know what you're talking about. It might be something important. It might be something they want to know about. If you're talking about, hey, somebody has this, or this guy's doing that, or he's about to have this, and they want to know so that they can make their plans to maybe, hey, I'll try to get there before this guy and get it before he can, or just a number of reasons why people want to overhear what you're talking about. Maybe they're just bored. Kind of learn and just develop the habit of talking very low, trying not to expel a lot of breath when you're talking. Very quiet to where only the guy right next to you can hear. It's a very common thing, and I also got into the habit of when I was speaking to people, even on the outside, and for quite a few weeks, months, once I got out of prison, when I spoke to someone, I never spoke to them face to face. I would always kind of go shoulder to shoulder and just kind of lean over and put my hand up here and just kind of talk to them like this. And it was a natural thing that I had gotten in the habit of, and that not just me, plenty of guys get in the habit of, because you just kind of cover your mouth, because there are guys all over the cell block who will stand opposite you. They may be all the way in the corner of the room, and they'll just be kind of standing there. You'll never notice them. They might be in their cells looking out of their window, and they just kind of watch you. And they'll read your lips. They can tell by your body language. You don't want to be too expressive. You don't want to do anything to give away what this conversation is about with this guy. You know, and it's also just kind of the habit of standing shoulder to shoulder, because we don't really like to have our back turned when we're in prison. You know, guys will kind of stand shoulder to shoulder and be talking side by side to each other while their back is probably up against a wall or very close to a wall where no one's going to walk behind you. So you got that, behind you covered. But while they're talking, we'll just kind of be looking around and just having this conversation like I'm having with you now, and just, kind of cover your mouth while you're talking, and then you listen, and the whole time you're just scanning and watching everyone and just watching your surroundings, seeing what's going on. And it just becomes a natural thing. You don't even have to think about doing it. You just do it. And that was something I brought out here, and it's just very unnatural to do out here. So yeah, there was definitely times when I'd be talking to somebody out here, or they'd come and talk to me, and as soon as the conversation started, I'd kind of like position myself shoulder to shoulder with them like I was used to, and start kind of talking to them like that, and they would just be like, they'd be look very thrown off by it, and and I'd notice a lot of times, and it was a little awkward, and it just kind of was like a snap back to reality, like, hey man, you're doing some kind of weird stuff. It really took me a while. That was one of the things I really had to work at to break myself out of. Now, you heard both of them say, kind of the biggest struggle with me, what I gathered from their responses was just being out in public and around strangers. And yeah, that's not something I am not aware of. I can't look back on and be like, yeah, I was like that. I've always been aware of it. I'm still aware of it. It's something I'm still constantly working at, and it's gotten much easier to where I don't have to work at it much anymore, thankfully. But I do remember back during those times, it was like, especially like when I first got out, it was like each new time, like every day or every other day, however often I would go out, each new time I could feel myself get a little bit more okay with being out there and not feeling like at any moment something could happen. At any moment, have to be alert. I have to be aware, and I have to be on guard for this guy or that guy. And it took me a long time to realize that, hey, this isn't prison. People aren't out here to have issues and to have problems. People are just going about their day. Yes, stuff happens, but nowhere near the degree that you are carrying yourself in anticipation of. I think a lot of that is just, especially with interactions from people, I feel like prison, because of the environment that it is, and because everyone is on edge, because it's in the forefront of their mind. I can't let anyone disrespect me. This is prison. So if anyone says anything kind of disrespectful, I have to do something about it. I have to protect my reputation, or else I'll be seen as weak, and I'll get walked all over by everyone else. There's such a constant presence of that mindset in there, and everyone's so aware of it that everyone kind of, unless, until a real actual issue starts, on your day-to-day just interactions and small talk in prison, inmates are very conscious of not saying anything that it can be seen as disrespect. See, out here, it's not like that. Everyone isn't, no one's walking around thinking, how's this guy going to take my words? Not as much as guys in prison are, because, things aren't really going to happen as quickly or for as small a reason as they will in prison compared to out here. And so I did notice, people, guys, anybody would just say things or act certain ways or just do certain things. I can't really recall anything specific, but people would just say things and interact with me in a way that was just like, it was a little too much. But now looking back, I'm like, it's just people's personality. Some people are a little more like that than others, but no one's really thinking about, yeah, let me chump this dude. Let me just disrespect him and get away with it because he ain't gonna do nothing about it. Like, people just are how they are, and some people are a little more rude, some people are a little less rude, and there's that sliding scale, and ultimately you can't get upset about really these little small things. But back then I would take them very personal about, oh no, they know what they did. No, they know what they did. I can't believe they just, you know, because I'm so used to, hey, you know not to do that. Hey, we all know that we need to respect each other because stuff could happen, you know, but out here, no one's thinking like that. And I just had to catch on to that. So I did have some issues with that at the start. Thankfully, I had my girlfriend, I had my friends, I had my best friend Dave, who really was at the forefront of, if anything like that, any type of, you know, issue or altercation was about to happen, he was always right there. And he'd be like, he would always remind me, hey, Paul, it's not worth it. You're home now. You have so much to live for. You have so much going on. You have so many blessings. Like, he would hammer it into me. You have so many blessings. You got on the internet a week after getting home from prison and blew up. You have a following. You get to entertain people. That's what you love. You're doing stand-up. You have friends who love you. You have a girlfriend who loves you. You have a house. You are making a living. You are doing great out here. Don't throw it all away because somebody said something that you didn't like on the sidewalk when you were walking by him. Like, it's not worth it. And he really had to hammer it in my head that you can't act like that anymore. This is society. You can't do that anymore. And I really thank him and just give him so much credit for helping change my mindset and really getting me to the person I am today, who, I don't care what you say to me, it's not worth going back to prison. That's how I feel these days. If we're talking about my year out of prison, I know a lot of people, they asked in the last video in the comment section, what did I do for work? How was I able to get my own place? I do have a house that I rent. I don't own it. Well, the most important thing, when I came out, I did have a little bit of money saved up. It was enough to really help me out at the start. It may seem like a good little chunk, but over the course of 10 years, when you have a decade to plan and save, if you can have the foresight to really start saving that far in advance for your future, if you really want to succeed, you know, that far ahead in the future, which I did, it's not that hard to save up that over 10 years. And so I did, and so that helped a lot. As far as a job, I had 2 job opportunities offered to me. One was my very good friend who was going to be able to get me a spot with him kind of installing windows, and then also I had my buddy Dave who was going to get me a spot as an apprentice in his tattoo shop, because he is a very good tattoo artist. And I was kind of deciding which one do I want to commit to. And that was during like the first week or so. And funny thing, during that first week, you know, if you've heard other parts of my story, even in prison, years before I got out, I always wanted to be an entertainer, whether that was stand-up comedy, maybe one day that's in big-time Hollywood movies, who knows, but, you know, more realistically, I felt I wanted to be an entertainer on the internet. I want to create content. I want to do comedy, not just comedy, but I want to do some funny stuff and maybe, you know, some other talent, storytelling, things like that. So while I'm kind of deciding which job do I want to pursue, I started posting on TikTok. I made a TikTok account as soon as I got out. I had never been on there or even looked on there before, but I made one and I posted a TikTok. Little did I know this would be the TikTok to start everything in my entire journey of entertainment and online entertainment for the next year, all the way up until where I am now. I'll go ahead and show you the TikTok I made that started all this now.
Who just opened the soda? Yes, ma'am. Hey, your mom wants you to help me iron my clothes because Sister Judy's going to make me stand and introduce myself since I'm a new visitor.
Just a little funny reenactment of something that happened in my childhood, but it just caught on. It was the first TikTok I posted, and within a week, it took off. And I remember watching it hit 1 million views, and that was so special to me because I just couldn't believe it. I had dreamed about it in prison. You know, this is what I want to do. This would bring me fulfillment. I'd be very passionate about this. I'd be happy if I could just live my life making people laugh or finding a way to entertain people. And then this happened, and it was just amazing. I loved it. I couldn't believe it, and I wanted to keep doing it, and I would make more and more. And after that first TikTok hit 1 million, the very next day, I had gained enough followers to become monetized on TikTok, and so I was monetized. And I remember just the rest of that time, I kept doing whatever I thought was funny, trying my best to make funny skits. Had a lot of success with that. Even started telling prison stories, more like reenacting them for TikTok and just kind of making them funny. They weren't really scary or shock value. They were just funny. They were true. They were my experiences, which was special to me, but I was finding a way to tell them that was funny and people could laugh. Oh, at the end of the month, when I got my payment, it was a little over maybe $1,000, $1,200 for that entire month. And, you know, me, I don't know what it cost anyone anywhere else. I'm certainly no expert on that because I haven't even been in society for the last decade, but down here in the South, where I live in this small town, collectively, my bills at the end of the month were $1,000. So to me, I looked at that and I said, I just paid all my bills by entertaining people and making funny TikToks. And so I kept doing it. You know, that became my job. I didn't really follow up on any job opportunity, even though to this day they're still there if I ever need them, but I haven't needed them over a year later. And I'm blessed for that. I'm so thankful for that. But yeah, I just kept expressing myself through that. And number one, telling the prison stories, the funny prison stories, and just sharing that with people. It was just helping me get this off of my chest, get it off of my shoulders, and just kind of get it out there once and for all. Kind of the way that making these videos about prison, you know, even though they're not, most of these on YouTube aren't very comedic, they're more informative or things like that. It does help just to get these experiences out there once and for all and just kind of wash my hands of them. So while I'm healing doing that, I'm also just pursuing my passions, and those two things really helped, I think, shed a lot of the armor, you could call it, that I had coming out of prison into society, to really just allow me to drop that and be who I am. You know, aside from all of the characteristics and the traits I had to have from being in prison and just to survive in prison, it helped me really drop all that and just let it go. That, along with my family support, my friends, my girlfriend, and all in all, I think I'm in a very good place now compared to where I was when I first got out. And I'm certainly not fully 100% back and healed, and, you know, don't carry any, you know, trauma issues, whatever you want to call it, from prison. I certainly have habits that I can't break. I've made a video about, you know, my I guess it's called stimming. You know, I wiggle my fingers a lot when I get a little anxious, and that's something I started doing in prison, and I still do out here. Pacing, that's probably my number one thing. Pacing, I still do it. I was doing it before I made this video. I pace. I wake up and have my coffee, my breakfast, and I just pace and think, what am I going to do today? What video am I going to make? You know, what about this? Or I need to take care of this. And I just pace and pace and pace. And it just comes from being in that cell and always thinking, overthinking, thinking, and just pacing around my cell the whole time I did that. And I still am not able to break that. And I honestly, I would tell you, I haven't even really gotten any better in comparison. I feel like I do it just as much as when I first came out. So there are several things that I still deal with, and, you know, it's not all completely behind me. It didn't take just 1 year or a little over a year to completely be this person who, you know, it's like I never went to prison. I forgot I ever even was there. You know, I certainly still deal with things and struggle with things that you probably don't realize just from watching the videos. But luckily, I do think I've come a long way. I feel that I have. I can feel the changes. I can see the changes from what you're about to watch with these closing videos from my girlfriend and my best friend. From their words, it sounds like I have changed. Not just in my eyes, but in theirs, and it's something very visible and very real. And for that, I'm glad. I will always keep trying. I'll continue working on myself, continue trying to let that go, and put that whole period of my life behind me. Ultimately, I just want to be the best son, the best brother, the best friend, the best boyfriend, best father to my cats that I can be.
The change has been insane. Now he's like the happiest, coolest guy in the entire world. He's definitely made insane amounts of progress since then. So it's been pretty cool. been pretty cool.
He definitely over time has gotten louder, probably from being around me all the time too. He's definitely chilled out because now, like, we go to stores, we'll go out to restaurants, and you can just tell that he's not as on edge about just, like, making sure he's fully aware of his surroundings, which he still does, but just not to the same degree that it was when he first got out. I feel like a lot of the things, it was just, like, he was kind of hardened and got a little, like, rough around the edges. And it's not that he's changed now, but he's just kind of evolved and, like, smoothed out those edges and chiseled them up. And so now he still has all of those, like, traits. They're still there. He's the same man. They're there for when they're needed versus just having them out, like, all the time for, you know, defense mechanism. Like, it's really nice to see him just be able to be comfortable chilling somewhere. There's one thing that has never changed, and that is his humor. Like, he literally from day one has always been making me laugh, and it's always been the best time hanging out with him. So despite all of the other little things, at the core, like, who he is, never gonna change. Like, that's him. What you see is what you get, which I love. But yeah, he's great, and I am super happy of all of, you know, the little changes that he made, and who he is today is my favorite person ever. So, yeah, it's been a really, really, really cool experience to just see how his time spent in prison affected him. Was very eye-opening for me. And then watching how quickly he's been able to evolve to the outside world and just, you know, be a great person. So I love to see it. It's great. I'm super here for all of the things in the future. I made him
I made her say all this
stuff.
I
made him stand there so that I felt like I was, like, talking to somebody, and now I see how hard it is for him to just come in here and talk to a camera and act like it's a bunch of people. So props to you, baby. I love you.
love you.
Thanks for watching, and thanks for going along this journey with me.